Welcome, race fans, to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast with Cam K and Graydon Bunn. True Canadian race fans. This show is presented by Remax Jack. Call Remax Jack and start to pack. Green flag is out. Let's get this podcast underway.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Cam K here with Graydon Bunn. We've got our special guest, Ryley Seibert of the RS1 series, brand new series by Avion Motorsports. Well, it's not that brand new. It has been around, but real big push this year. They're on Rev TV Canada, amongst other places where you can find them. They just recently started their Festival of Speed at Area 27. It was a very, very exciting event. Brought out some familiar names from out east, like Andrew Ranger and J.R. Fitzpatrick. Jason White, of course, he was racing at home for once. Ryley, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Really excited to be here.
That's great, man. That's what we like to hear. Let's start right into what is the RS1 series? How did it come about?
So the Avion RS1 series was a vision of my dad, Trevor, and it really kind of culminated from discussions around when we built Area 27, the racetrack, the private racetrack down in Oliver, British Columbia. We had a ton of, when we were raising money for it, we had this thought that it would just be all race car drivers. And at the end, it turned out that there was like very few race car drivers that show up for the membership drives and stuff like that. It actually just was auto enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. And so from that, a few things stemmed from that was, how do we get auto enthusiasts into racing? And how do we even the playing field for current racers that are feeling the financial struggle from battling weekend in, weekend out with big budget teams on shoestrings, that sort of thing. So we were really trying to, even the keel and on that, and plus have a good entry for people that just want to get into the sport. So we created the RS1 series. Well, first we just created the car. We started with one car in 2016, and the design around the car was conceptually was to say, what, upfront capital is, it's still an expensive car, let's call it. Back then, this is 6 years ago, we were selling them for I think even 100 grand. And I think right now they're going for about 110, I think, Canadian. But after that, for longevity and maintenance, we're running 604 crate motor. We're running a good dog box transmission with the G-force, Ford 9-inch in the back with a diff pump, cooler and stuff like that. All proper rack and pinion, coilover shocks, and a great performance fiberglass flange fit body that you see in the Pinty series. So for guys and ladies that were used to going to the racetrack with sports cars that were putting on, we had guys out there with Porsche GT3s that were burning through 12 grand in tires in a weekend. And it's just like, I don't know how the heck you can afford that. And they realized shortly after they couldn't afford it either. So we created a real good budget car. And then once the cars started selling, and people started to show interest, and we got to, 13 cars, and all of a sudden 22 cars. It's like, hey, we're going to make a series out of this thing. And we're going to make two series out. We're going to have the challenge series for the novice, for the entry people. And then we're going to have the cup for the people that are, let's call ourselves professionals. And by all means, I mean, we had guys mixed in there that do get paid as race car drivers, right? I myself got a full sponsorship with Super Seal Construction Products. They've come on as a full board. And we're making a go at it. As you said, we're on Rev TV, this, that. The cars never leave the impound of the team either. So there's no going home and sneakily changing something. They're all impounded all the time, 24/7. You want to bring it to the racetrack, call us up. We'll get the transporter out. We'll bring it to the racetrack, and we'll do the pit side support. But really not allowed to pull any wrenches on your own car on that one.
Ryley, that one answer just peeled open a whole bunch of questions that I have now. The track, it's the business model. It's all very interesting. I mean, BC's beautiful country. Area 27 looks just amazing.
Country, is it great? Country?
What's that?
BC is a country now?
It's no beautiful country. I mean, geography. It's part of Canada. I'm aware, but your family is also into excavation contracting. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my day job. So, I mean, as road building and stuff like that, I can relate to this stuff, and it's very fascinating seeing the projects that you have going on out there. And I guess let's start at that. Let's talk about Area 27 and what it's been like taking that on.
It's back, let's call it 10 years ago. I was coming out of late models, going into the Pinty series. We were spending a lot of our, spending all our own money to do stuff. We had some support from some suppliers of ours at the time, and really kind of running on a shoestring. Mm-hmm. And a big part of it wasn't, we spent a lot of money, and it's fine. That's why you make your money, is to spend it. And why you work hard is to go have fun. You can't take it with you when you go. So we do what we do to have, love life. But the struggle was we didn't have facilities out here to go testing, to knock the rust out, to shake down a car, to do, setup. And we were battling with top teams like J.R. Fitzpatrick, Scott Steckley, DJ Kennington, Andrew Ranger, Tagliani, all these guys that were constantly in the cars around the shop, access to, places like Mossport, or even just some of the ovals there, like Sunset and stuff like that. So for us, Vernon shut down the speedway out here that the NASCAR series used to run at. And all there really was left was our real small town circle track, short track programs. And we had no road courses whatsoever. So, and that also adds to how much interest and fan base and marketing and company interest for support ties in, because they have a hard time seeing the market. So it was a natural fit for Dad to get called to the party on Area 27. Bill Drossis, the president, called him up, said, "Hey, I really want to build a racetrack. I kind of have this crazy dream. There's some land down here. We have a chief that wants, it's on Oisoyas Indian band land. We got a chief that's rocking and rolling, wants to do stuff." And then, and Jacques was in on it. And then as well as a guy by the name of David. The four of them really kind of sat down and started this thing. And of course, Dad's like, "Oh yeah, let's fire up the rock trucks and excavators, and like I can turn dirt tomorrow, right?" So, and so from that business model, they created something that kind of replicates what they do at golf courses. You pay a membership fee, and that's how they fund it. The old school put up grandstands and try and sell tickets and make money and support it that way. It's a really tough business, and you got to find somebody to write a big multi-million-dollar check to get over that initial capital hump. Whereas this was more of a crowdfunding situation. Yeah. And then it created a group of 300 plus members, plus families and friends, and like the car scene out here just exploded. Nice. All of a sudden the dealers were in on it. They were buying corporate memberships because they could see some longevity out of this thing, and it just took off, and it's played a multiplier in my career that I don't even know, because it's gotten me next to people that I didn't know. It got me track time. I'm in a seat now every couple of weeks. So really changed our lives. And my dad always told me when I, especially through high school, I worked part-time. I worked summers in an excavator and a grader and a dozer and running sites. And then I graduated and I was a superintendent, and he always said, "Don't worry, we're going to get a shot. We're going to get a shot. We're going to get a shot." And it was, my youth was, "When's this shot coming?" Right. And finally like here it was, right? Like, he didn't know that phone call was coming, but he always had that belief, and it just came. Right. So and it's done wonders for us. Like you say, you can't write a better story than that. And now we've taken on the ownership of Pinty Speedway, so we have an oval and a road course now in the ownership, and like people are so excited to be a part of the group. We've got a great culture at Avion Motorsports. Sponsors are knocking down our door to be a part of it. So it's new and exciting, which is good. Now we just got to roll into the long game and execute on just providing a show now for the fans that they just can't get enough of. And that's what we're about now. That's the culture.
Man, that got my heart beating just talking about that. That was awesome.
That's good. I'm curious, Ryley, we're of the age that we can remember the NASCAR East and Western division. Obviously the Western division was not part and not included when NASCAR came and bought NASCAR in 2007. In a way, do you feel that the RS1 series is like are you guys planning to be a sort of a competitor or a Western swing of things, or just another series that's in Canada? What is the long-term goal of the series?
The long-term goal of the RS1 series is really to be we're not sitting here going, we're going to be the next NASCAR. That's not our thing. That's kind of a different business model, different philosophy. For us, it's, we have a big trackside tent. We have like gorgeous catered lunches for the drivers and families and the kids, and some air conditioning and waters and Gatorades and coolers. And at the end of the day, some wine and beer and stuff like that for everybody, so that it's not such a program to go to the racetrack with your family who doesn't necessarily have the same interest level that you do into the racing. So the wives, the girlfriends, the kids, they enjoy it a lot more. It's a lot shorter day for them. They don't have to, slog it out at a racetrack, and gates open at 6 and everybody's there and all there's unrolling and you don't get out of there until midnight, right? Everybody's done that at the short tracks and NASCAR and stuff like that. So for us, it's really kind of to be a different sort of philosophy. And Dad's kind of got this picture in his head that as soon as the COVID stuff clears up, we're going to be a West Coast international series. We want to do the west side of Canada and the west side of the US. Nice. Because, and I think, and we've been talking about this for, a couple of years, where summertime we'll be up north, wintertime we'll be down south. And, it'd be kind of cool to go down during the winter to, Infineon, Sonoma, maybe do an Irwindale or Oval, some fun stuff. And for us, that's really what it's all about. It's just, because it's, we have a membership group to it. The fans are going to be an added bonus to it, but other than that, we're just traveling and having fun, and everybody kind of pays into it.
It's an excellent business model. It's forward thinking, and it's turning traditional motorsports sort of on its head. Some similarities I sort of see to SRX in terms of like the model. Like, I'm not saying like you guys were there first. I mean, but in terms of how you can come and play or pay to play sort of thing and get in a car and not have the overhead of a traditional race team, and the way that you guys are marketing yourselves and looking to by the sound of it very smartly expand when you can and grow by your means. But it's such forward thinking, and in a time where you just don't hear a lot of motorsports really doing all that well. So it's definitely a testament and a compliment to what you guys got going on out there.
It's going well. We've heard the SRX comparison a lot. We've heard the Pinty. I
saw it on your face. Yeah. That might make your skin crawl. I'm sorry if I.
Not really, but it's a good topic though, because we need to talk about it. We need to get it out to the fans that are wondering, how do we compare to those guys?
Yes.
Tony's got a great program down there. Him and I think Evernham, right? So I've been watching it. It's a good little program. Same thing. They've got a lockdown on a group of cars so that it's not they're saying, okay, we're going to have the stars come and race. So, sorry if one of those guys is listening to this, but I call it Dancing with the Stars for the race cars. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody.
I love that. I like that. That's good.
This is why we ask stuff.
So, they got Castroneves and Deegan, and they got the two Elliots in the last race, and so that is like very cool on its own merits. Like that is, they had a great thought there. It's going to work really well for them, I think. I looked at the pictures in Nashville. It looked like they were sold right out. So the proof's in the attendance right there. So it's going to be sort of the same thing where there's control on these cars, and it's not like, well, Chase won today because they figured out something with the splitter, and that's why he won, or something like that. No, it's all the same stuff. He actually truly beat his old man, sort of thing. They had a good race, and now ego goes his way this time, pride goes this way this time, and that is comparable to what we do, where it's like, we're going to have this locked in close thing where I think we're allowed to adjust panhard bar, tire pressures, and wing angle, and that's it.
Okay.
So and then the rest is all straight out of the shop how it is. So the panhard bars, if anybody knows, will make the car turn more or less. The wing just gives the rear a little more grip. And then the tire pressures is just kind of sidewall bite grip, and you as a driver, there's no driving aids, there's no ABS, there's no traction control, there's not even any timing, scoring, or data on the car itself. It's just a stopwatch, right? It's a timing loop.
Nice.
And we've had real good drivers come out from sports car, and they do well because they're good drivers, but at the same time, the data's not there for them to look at, brake pressures and throttle positions and this and that. So it's a learning curve for them to get back into a real raw car and do that. But cool. I don't know. I can't say enough about it because it gets me excited because it's a real fun deal.
Well, you have Penticton Speedway completely restoring the track. I love that. I've been watching the progress of your social media team. I believe it might be Todd, all over putting out updates. Al always updating us on the.
I love those videos.
It's what racing, and I kind of feel what we don't get to see a lot of the times from the Pinty side of things is there's a lot behind the scenes. Get to see the cars. You get to see the driver announcements coming forth. You're seeing the track developments. Are there any further tracks you guys in Canada are looking at? I know you mentioned the US. Obviously, you mentioned Saskatchewan. Are you going any further? Are you going to Edmonton? Is that a thought? Is there potential for a street event at some sort? I'm only saying that as a fan of the former Molson Indy in Vancouver. But is there room that because you've already built, like you said, Area 27, you've already worked on Penticton. So is there somewhere else that you're thinking about? And along with that, Ryley, I know it's a big question here, but what is the racing scene like in BC? Because Greg and I, we're not out there, we're out east, right? So I'm curious what the volume is of fans, attendance, sponsors, etc.
Yeah, so to answer the track question, the tracks of interest of ours, our target is to go to tracks that our car owners, because they all own their own car, want to run. So it's also tied to maybe a city or location that's cool as well.
Okay.
So when I had mentioned kind of Sonoma and this and that in the winter is because, there'd be some cool destinations for people to go, wine country and this and that for people to go do around the event that we would have. We talked about Saskatoon because we just wanted to we wanted to mix in another oval, and the wine group's always been a great group that's supported the racing. So we wanted to support them.
Nice.
The Edmonton Oval, I think, and the Edmonton Road Course and stuff like that, not on our radar at the moment. The other thing that we're trying not to do is to overbook. We're not we're not going to go and run 13 weekends a year. We want to run maybe 4 summer, 4 winter shows over the expanse of 12 months. Again, it's getting away from the traditional motorsports of I got to go put 20 races in to even just win a championship, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to do a real select few races so people can still go out on the lake when they want, or go ATVing and live a different, live that other part of life, or have some home time, some family time, because we've all done that same thing, that slog, right? And that thrash where you're like you say, we're working construction during the day and then you're in the shop at night getting cars ready. And when we started Area 27, at that point in my career, I was so tired of racing. It was actually really depressing. Like, I was mid 20 years old and I'm tired of racing already, because I put so much time, so much money, so much effort into these touring series. And I had a lot of fun, but I had a lot of just like frustration with the way things were. And
it can beat you down.
It kind of defeated me at that point. And then, and then at that point, the new track, and it sparked something. And then, I stepped out of a late model for 5-6 years and then got right back in it in 2018 and led most of the race in Penticton there until my camber shims fell out of the right front. And I came home second even without camber shims. But, sometimes you need to step back. And my dad actually says, points out Patrick Carpani. I don't know if you guys know much on his history, but he stepped out of IndyCar for a while, or early in his career, like in his, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s or something like that for a while, and then stepped back into it and did better than he was previously, because he went out and just did some normal life stuff again. And that's why we don't overbook. We want to make sure the interest level stays high, and would rather be on the other end where they're asking for more than the other end, the end where they're like, enough, let's
you're saturating it.
And it's really hard on the team, because that's a little bit different. Like you said, that they might own their car, but if I'm understanding correctly, the cars are still kept with Avion Motorsports. They don't go back to their own team. So if they were in an accident, it's much easier to repair for 4 race weekends than you have like 12 weekends and you've got a car on the first week. And then all of a sudden you got to thrash and get it done by the next weekend. I can't imagine that that's extremely easy to do while you said working all day long.
And a lot of our clientele is let's just call it what it is, working class people. Like, they're not sitting back on any kind of large funds and doing it on that and just have a load of time. They're still working people, and so they have done well in their businesses, and they want to do this because they have a bit of scratch, but doesn't necessarily mean they have a time to, like you say, thrash on cars and stuff like that. So it works really well for them.
Yeah, it looks like where it's a good business and a good mix of everybody just getting out and having fun. And like you said, there's it sounds like there's a ton of different things to do at the events that keeps everybody's attention through the day. I'd love to get out west sometime when we're traveling freely and check out some of these shows, because it sounds really awesome, Ryley.
Yeah, and it's a great little program, and I guess I didn't answer your second part of your question about the local racing scene out here. We have the same problems I feel everybody has, where there's, let's say, a half dozen or a little more tracks around, and everybody wants to run a different tire, and everybody wants to run a different roll package. And every straight stock's a little different, and every Hornet's a little different. What we call minis, the Hornets. And the late models are no different. So with owning Penticton Speedway, we're going to focus on that little circle there. And then our hope is that because we're now a part of the Speedway group, like, hey, we've got a circle, you've got a circle. Let's get everybody together now, and let's use the influence of Avion's program, where we've seen success, it's proven, and say, let's go to a strictly 604 late model class in BC, guys. Like, let's get over this. Let's go to a 602 street stock program. Let's get on board with this. We've got ideas about trying to get the street stock division to a fabricated chassis. And our ideas are always met with such radical comments sometimes. And you see the comments online, and it's always easy to focus on the negative because the negative sticks out so well. Yeah. But I went through street stocks. I went through late models. My old man did it. We know everything there is about every struggle there is in those programs. And we also got the other side where, we did okay in business and had a little bit of money, and everybody, I don't know what to say because I didn't, but you want me to get in your car and we can switch? Like I'm open to it. But I went down to let's switch back to 2010. I went down and I did the NASCAR Wheeling Home Tracks tour, and it was in Vernon, BC. Mm-hmm. And that time the Wheeling Home Tracks thing was a big deal because if you won, your local thing, you get down North Carolina, you get a suit, you get a trophy, you get some notoriety, you're in the magazines. So it was a big deal, especially in BC, because it was, we're a long way from North Carolina here. So that was like NASCAR. Wow, that's a big deal. So I went down there and I showed up with my jalopy I had out of Williams Lake that I did fine with, some old worn out motor. And I went down there on a half mile and I couldn't crack the top 10 to save my life. Like I would every now and then, but guys pull me 3-4 car lengths on a straightaway, and you just can't make that up. And you can under braking, but then you just use your stuff up, right? So I struggled. And then finally we're just like, well, I guess we're gonna bite the bullet and buy a motor. And then you go and you spend $25,000 on a motor to go and compete, on a built motor, and it's like in a street stock division. And I know I know of guys that have street stocks right now that are upwards of $70,000-$80,000 cars. And it's just like, that is so wrong, guys. Like the whole,
you're so upside down.
And they just totally tarnish the bottom end of the class because they have that little bit of money to do that. And, so that's why we're looking at this. Why don't we take a design just like the RS1? We'll have a 2-frame chassis. We'll have a Camaro front clip. We'll do, floater, not a floater rear end, but a 4.9-inch so we can change gears better. We'll come up with a street stock division, and we'll put a street stock body on it, and it'll be with a 602, and we'll come up with something that maybe somebody can get into turnkey for, I don't know, less for a brand new car, less than $50,000. Right. We got to be under that. And that would be the top end mark, right? Like maybe we can get it more economical than that. And it'll be tough to start with, but down the road, guys who want new stuff will sell the car down the road and go get a new one. And 602s that are, guys, same thing. Guys want to run a 602 for a full year and then they want to sell it. You can go down to your local Chevy, and I don't know what they're selling them for now, but they got to be right around that $5,000 mark. Yeah. Pop them in, you run them for a season, sell them for $2,500 at the end of the season for the guy that doesn't want the new one. They run just the same at the end of the season, and go get yourself a new one. And now you're into the next one for $2,500, and so is the guy that you sold it to. Right.
Not half bad.
That's our vision for out here. Now, whether we can convince people of that, that's another thing.
Yeah. We've just seen that, I think, in this year with our super stocks in Ontario with APC coming together and Quick Wick to basically form one series that at least if you're going to run weeklies, your points will go towards it, if I'm not mistaken. But we had 39 cars show up for Delaware. Like that's unheard of. But on the if we're fans, and this is, I think, the biggest thing that I think you were just saying about people online, a lot of the times people's gripes about Pinty series, there's only 13, 15 cars. If you go to weekly racing, there's only 10, 7, there's 7 or 8 cars on the track. it's a deterrent for people, yet no one's offered a solution. So this, I mean, it's refreshing to hear that you guys actually have a solution or you have a plan in place. You know, I think that it is going to have to be the way motor racing is. I mean, Ryley, I'm sure you can understand, you can probably agree, is that it's not what it was 15, 20 years ago. There's not that money there.
It's been I mean, since the cigarettes and beer money kind of went away, there wasn't that sort of back up to the sponsorship. Because I mean, back when Dad was racing in the 90s, there was so much tobacco money that it was
he was a player's guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, at one point he was a player's guy. You know, he tested with them and raced one time with them, and the other, you know, so that's gone. And the other thing that's gone is people's attention span is shorter because of the way entertainment is nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, you see the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, the NASCAR breaking it up to stage races. Everybody's trying to figure out how to entertain people differently now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we skip back 60, 70 years ago, where auto racing was in its infancy and climbing and exploding, it was because people were fascinated with the cars and the growth of the auto industry and what was coming next. And that's disappeared.
Yeah.
You know, and even at the highest level of Formula One, the most common person, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but everybody knows that I'm a race car driver that in my circles and knows that I'm involved in racing. And people who aren't involved in racing, anytime in the last 2 years, I've, have a conversation with people that don't talk about racing. The only thing they want to talk about is the Netflix on the F1 Drive to Survive on Netflix. Because they created something that is a complete departure on how to entertain people, because it's a behind the scenes. It shows the politics. It and it's like, hey, they're like perfect example, right? Now people are like, oh, maybe I should watch a race. Maybe I should go to a race. People are talking about, because they get to see these drivers and what they struggle with and how it goes, and they've got personal stories to them now, and it has to be that way, because for so long, and that's why NASCAR used to be so great, was because it was like, Buddy there from the stands could have his cozy of Budweiser and somehow spill it on Dale Earnhardt's car by accident. That's how close they could get to the action, right, to the drivers. And then it became this velvet rope thing. And with IndyCar, F1, and all these upper series, it's like, no, velvet rope, stay back, this, that, can't rub elbows. We're too important. And then you saw the decline, and it was just like, well, that wasn't that hard to see that, guys. Like you must have been able to see the association there, right? So
we have this conversation. It seems like every week, Graydon and I are talking about, and it's funny you bring that up, because it's true. When you go for
totally relevant,
the Toronto Indy, for example, the paddock pass alone is $60. Just to see IndyCar, not everything else, just IndyCar, $60. And like that to me is outrageous. When again, we take a look at like CASCAR and the Pinty's model, where you could go out on the track, get an interview, or you can get an interview, an autograph, you can get a picture. Like you used to come home with a bag of stuff. My first NASCAR race, and it was like, you don't even get to meet the drivers. They're just they're all in their own space, and you aren't even allowed there. With the continuance of the RS1 series, obviously, we're extremely excited about this. We love racing. I love the cars. I think they're beautiful. I especially love that 66, the TD Bank car. I think it looks so cool.
Nice.
And of course, I guess the General Lee as well. I gotta say the General Lee. The cars are beautiful. They sound great. The track itself, I love the Area 27 track. Just in the challenge race that I was able to catch, seeing drivers in the lead just spin off because they weren't able to control their brake or whatever. I love that. I think that shows it's not easy.
It looks like a technical golf course of racetracks. It's beautiful, and it looks very beautiful, challenging and technical.
JR Fitzpatrick came out and Andrew Ranger came out, and they were both extremely happy with the racetrack, and that speaks volumes, because they've done a lot of racing over their years, and
big time.
And Dad spent, like he always does, countless hours with the draftsman on the computer, designing this thing. And of course, it was a co-design with Jacques, and Jacques' name's all over it. And of course, but Dad got down in the nitty gritty and actually truly got into all the mathematics of it. Yeah. And we would get out there, and then we would take it and we'd lay it out. And then there was lots of nights where him and I sat there and we redesigned things in the field, and we would, he'd be on a dozer, I'd be on the survey gear, and something would be too sharp or too fast, or, and we would sit there until 10 o'clock at night reshaping things. And because we had one shot at it, right? Like, you don't get to try this again. So it's, people compliment us all the time on it. And Dad, like I said, I can't speak enough about good things about my old man. I'm his biggest fan. So, he's got these visions and concepts, and the same thing with Penticton Speedway. When we took that one on, and he's talking about this and that, I'm like, you're nuts, man. Like, and you know what? You look at the pictures now, and it is like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I know what you're talking about now, right? Like, but it takes those kind of nut job people to pull this stuff off. And
visionary.
And you know what? My sponsor at Super Seal Construction Products, he's kind of a nut job just like us. He loves racing. You guys have probably seen his stuff on late models and trucks and cars all over the U.S. He loves to support racing, and they're truly interested in the same thing, rebuilding and remolding the way motorsports work. And nice. I foresee a long relationship with them, and really, we're just actually really good buddies. We are. And so it kind of works out.
Well, before we wrap it up, we got a couple, just some two things I gotta ask before we wrap it up here, because you say that Jacques' name is all over the Speedway. Is he going to make an appearance perhaps in an RS1 race, or could we potentially see something like an IndyCar or a NASCAR if they're interested? And then your sponsor has a fantastic prize for the winner of the championship this year, and we definitely have to touch on that, because that is a prize that is worth winning.
Yeah, so Jacques is obviously the official design by Jacques Villeneuve at Area 27. There has been murmurs, but no real set in stone talks, about him appearing in an RS1 race. Jacques is a racer through and through. He loves sim racing. He loves real racing. So if he sees a series that is doing super competitive and is a good platform, I think he'll find his way into it, including ours somehow. The second part of the question is, Super Seal has completed what's called the feeder puzzle. We have the Challenge Series, we have the Cup Series, and now we have the program called the Mission Martinsville. And what the Super Seal Mission Martinsville is, again, Super Seal has been in the Truck Series as a sponsor many times over. And they believe in our program, and they like this feeder, and they want to develop young racers as media savvy and driver savvy at the same time. And they saw what we saw, where it was an unattainable goal to get to a truck, but through Avion, it's not. So they essentially put their money where their mouth is, and they said, we're going to pay for a truck ride at Martinsville in 2023. So it's not this year that you win it. It's in 2022. That way we have a year for people to look at it and say, hey, I really want to get in this. We have time to build more cars. We have time to draft more drivers. And the winner of the 2022 RS1 Cup Championship will win a fully funded truck race at Martinsville, brought to you by Super Seal Construction Products and Avion Motorsports. And then if you finish in the top 15 in that race, you get an additional race. And that's all.
Wow.
So
that's a hell of a carrot to dangle.
Well, and that is, and of course, Super Seal's all over my car. So targets on my back.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
got all the pressure now.
Yeah, the pressure. So it's a truly feeder series, you know, for somebody who's sitting at home going, hey, I can get to a truck ride just by winning a championship. Sounds really easy. It's like, yeah, well, come bolt in and try it, man. Like,
yeah.
So, and additional to that, we're also going to pay for the RS1 Challenge champion to go down and be a part of the team.
Awesome. That's great. The if anybody wants to get interested, if anybody's interested, easy for me to say, is interested in participating in the RS1 series, obviously you've got this season kind of already taken care of, but for the future, how would they go about doing that?
Well, they can find our contact through our website, avionmotorsports.com. All the information for Mission Martinsville is on there. All the, we have to meet eligibility requirements for NASCAR licensing, of course, on the drivers for the trucks. But if you want to get in, our contact's on there. You can give us a shout, send us an email. We're really good at getting back to people. And yeah, if you want a car, come sign up. Or if you want to rent it, we rent cars. So we have house cars that we rent. So you can come get in a rental deal. You can buy an entire thing if you want, just your own car. Sometimes there's used cars for sale if you want to look for a discounted setup just for the initial capital cost. And like I say, you can go to our website, avionmotorsports.com there, and all that info is right there.
Wow. Well, Ryley Seibert, we want to thank you for coming on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Graydon, what do you have to say to Ryley?
Well, as we like to call it, Team Ryley, my youngest is especially grateful to have met you, and thanks on behalf of both of the boys, and thanks for giving us a peek behind the curtain and at the business side, the marketing side, the track building side, the driving side, all sides of it. It's been a real pleasure, Ryley, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, and thank you for having me. You know, media outlets like you guys, and this is awesome to support racing like this and put this out for the fans and stuff. So I really appreciate you guys. And I'm when we're done here, I'm back to moving dirt, and just like I think you said you are tomorrow. So for those of us that do those kind of jobs, stay safe out there, and so we can go racing on the weekend. And thanks, guys.
I got you, man.
Thank you so much, Ryley.
Thank you.
Take care.